A few minutes before my partner and fiancé Kyle and I got under the dome of the circus, he hugged me tightly, looked deeply into my eyes, and asked, "Baby, are you really sure about this?" "Of course, my love, I trust you." I ended my phrase with a gentle kiss. And then at the height of 30 meters, I was spinning in the air with no safety equipment, holding onto Kyle's hand only. Yes, I trusted him with my life, fate, and love. Soaring above the ground, I was happy as never before. People in the audience seemed to hold their breath and freeze, watching our death-defying stunt, and they burst into thunderous applause when we landed safely on the ground. Oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Kimberly, and in my youth I was the most beautiful girl in the state and the best air gymnast in the country. Before I share my intimate story with you, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Perhaps the time I'm talking about was the most carefree in my life. I grew up in one of the richest families in America, in the house of my uncle and aunt, who didn't have any children of their own. I always had everything I needed, and my family supported me when I chose to become a circus artist. I was surrounded by exceptionally respectable people who were spending money left and right. I was proposed to by the most handsome guy, with whom I had a promising and very bright future ahead, both in my personal life and in my career. Everything was so perfect that it looked a bit like a story from a glamorous fashion magazine. But once it all collapsed in a flash. Kyle and I rehearsed a lot and were preparing to participate in a TV project about circus art, including our direction, air gymnastics. And in a few months, we had school exams coming. And since we spent most of the year on tour, passing the test required a lot of hard work and catching up. But one day, my colleague and best friend, Anna, invited us to go out and unwind, dance a little, and have some cola in one cozy club. Kyle really liked the idea. I resisted at first. We didn't have time to relax, but my boyfriend convinced me. "Kimberly, you're overextending yourself. Sometimes it's good to pause and breathe a little. You're like a blown horse. Look at Anna. She's very beautiful and relaxed because she doesn't worry about anything." Then I gave in and agreed. I admit, Kyle's last argument really got to me, but I didn't show it. I spent a few hours after that in front of the mirror working on my looks. When Kyle saw me, he said that I looked stunning, and that's what I worked for. I really wanted to be feminine, cheerful, and carefree as Anna. That night at the club, I danced till I dropped and was the center of attention. I wanted Kyle to be proud that he had such a cool fiancé. Now I understand that I overdid it and I got carried away. The culmination of that evening was when I climbed onto the bar and began to dance away. And at some point, my high stilettos slipped and I collapsed to the floor. The last thing I felt was a sharp pain in the back of my head. The light in my head went out. It got quiet and completely dark. When I woke up, I saw white walls and a ceiling. There were tubes sticking out of my nose and mouth. They made me feel so uncomfortable that I took them out. At that moment, a woman in a white coat appeared in the doorway. She gave me a frightened look and said that she was a nurse and was going to get a doctor. The doctor was a pleasant, gray-haired man with glasses. He carefully examined me, checking my nervous system reflexes, counted my pulse, and made me stick my tongue out. And then he told me the news that shocked me. It turns out that almost 5 years had passed since that disastrous fall from the bar. Upon impact, I had a serious brain injury. I fell into a coma. But now, according to the doctor, my life was in no danger. "Kimberly, you're completely fine. I see only positive dynamics. At some point, we thought that everything was hopeless and you wouldn't come back to us. At the most critical moment, your uncle and aunt insisted on keeping you on life support. And all this time, they paid a lot of money to keep you alive. They love you so much. Now, while your body is recovering, you should refrain from air gymnastics," the doctor told me. Thoughts about my aunt and uncle made me feel very warm inside. They were like mom and dad to me, and of course, coming out of a 5-year sleep, I dialed their number first. My uncle was happy to hear my voice, and after half an hour, he took me home, where together with my aunt, they arranged a cozy family celebration. They asked me to take special care of myself now, during this time. A lot had changed, and life had gone on. From our conversation, I learned that America had a new president. And all my former classmates not only graduated high school, but are already graduating college and almost have a profession now. But the main disappointment was still ahead of me. When I asked, "So how is Kyle doing?" Uncle hesitated nervously and turned on the TV. And there I saw my boyfriend Kyle and my best friend Anna. They performed complex stunts under the dome of the circus. And when the camera closed up on their faces, they kissed passionately. It was such a stab. It turned out that Anna replaced me on the TV show where I was supposed to perform with Kyle 5 years ago. And then she took my place in his heart. Now they were one of the most famous couples in the country, in the world of sports and show business. Together they achieved career success and were headed to the top of Olympus. But I didn't want to believe the obvious. That day I ran out into the street, caught a taxi, and in half an hour I rang the doorbell of my boyfriend's house. I wasn't ready to call him my ex. When Kyle saw me, he looked confused and surprised. But when I looked into his eyes, I forgot about everything in the world. I almost threw my arms around his neck when I saw Anna's head behind his shoulders. Kimberly, we're happy to see you. You woke up just in time. We didn't even believe it would ever happen. Kyle and I are getting married in 6 months, so you can be a guest on the bride's side. Well, or the groom's. Anna said languidly and playfully, hugging my ex-boyfriend by the shoulders. My eyes got dizzy, but I was able to handle this moment and coped with my emotions. I even had the strength to say a few cliché phrases to the couple in love. I understood that too much time had passed to hold a grudge against someone and make claims. Anna, Kyle, I'm glad for you. Be happy. I squeezed out of myself and dived into a taxi passing by the house of my ex-boyfriend. Tears filled my eyes. Even the driver asked if I was all right and if I needed help. When I got home, I sobbed all night on my aunt's shoulder, and my uncle gave me a sedative to calm me down. But even during this difficult period, I was not going to play the victim and made a mature and adult decision that night to start all over again. And for starters, go back to school and finish my studies. Of course, this was not an easy test. All my new classmates were 5 years younger than me. We didn't have anything in common, and doctors had forbidden me to return to training yet. I immersed myself in textbooks and spent all my free time reading books in a cozy cafe near the school, making up for lost years. Once I saw a guy in headphones sitting on the next table with his eyes closed. He was really enjoying a cinnamon roll, humming and dancing, gesticulating wildly, stamping his feet and fidgeting in his chair. I tried to ignore him and continued reading my book, but it was so hard. The guy started coming to my favorite cafe every day, distracting me from my studies and getting on my nerves. And at one moment, I just couldn't stand it anymore. Ugh! I got really angry at him. I even wanted to hit his pleased, smiling and chewing a cinnamon roll face with a textbook. But I stayed within the bounds of decency and angrily said, "Hey dude, you're disturbing my work. Please move to a table farther away so I don't have to see your clownishness. And stop singing out of tune, it's driving me nuts." I finally set the boundaries. But the guy smiled very sweetly and childlike, took off his headphones, and sat down at my table. Then he ran his hand down my cheek. Such audacity made me about to explode. I was stunned, not knowing what to say, but he spoke first. "It turns out you're real. So fabulously beautiful. I couldn't believe until you spoke to me that it wasn't a dream. Touching you convinced me completely. I hope you'll forgive me for it," he said with a kind smile. His voice sounded so sincere that all my anger was gone. The guy's name was Archie, and he was from a poor family. He went to college and worked part-time in a call center nearby. Archie was delighted when he learned my name. Kimberly means born in the royal meadow. With such an unusual name, you'll have a successful career and great happiness in your personal life, Archie prophesied to me. Despite such positive promises, my personal life only had failures and disappointments, I thought sadly, remembering the imminent wedding of Kyle and Anna. In the meantime, my new friend and I were meeting in our cafe and chatting quite often. And during one such meeting, Anna and Kyle walked in. They spotted Archie and me right away and headed straight for our table. At that moment, something happened to me. I began to laugh loudly and theatrically, although there was no reason for this, and hang on my friend's neck, whispering something incoherent into his ear. Anna and Kyle greeted me and asked how I was doing. "Guys, I'm doing great. After 5 years of sleeping, life is shining with new colors. Look, I met my true love. Meet my boyfriend Archie. He's the best guy in the world, and today we're on a date. And we want to have some time to ourselves." I lied desperately. Anna wished us a good evening, and Kyle got visibly gloomy. They sat down at a distant table. My ex-friend paid no attention to us and was chirping something joyfully, and Kyle kept his eyes on us and was frowning. The moment I got on Archie's lap and kissed him tenderly, my ex-boyfriend got up from the table and ran out of the cafe. Anna followed him. I realized that he was jealous, but for some reason it didn't bother me anymore. I was so into kissing Archie that I saw stars. Butterflies were fluttering in my stomach. And after a moment, I got back into my chair in confusion. But Archie took my hand, winked, and said that there was nowhere to retreat anymore. He confessed his love to me, and from that day on, we officially became a couple, and I really did fall in love. At the same time, the doctors allowed me to go back to sports. I began training hard and preparing my new solo circus program in air gymnastics. Archie's love and the profession I loved began to bring me back to life. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly happy. In the meantime, my aunt and uncle arranged a luxurious party for my birthday, inviting all their rich friends, including Kyle and his parents. I was with Archie and introduced him to everyone as my boyfriend, but for some reason a regular guy wearing a t-shirt and jeans from an ordinary store caused discontent among my family's respectable friends wearing clothes from the most fashionable couturier. That evening, I heard Kyle's parents whispering to each other and calling Archie a lowlife. They said that Kyle should break off his engagement with Anna and marry me. According to them, we'd make a perfect couple. Archie heard it all too, and without letting me say anything, he ran out of the house and left in an unknown direction. And after that, he completely disappeared and stopped replying to me at all. I wisely decided to give him time and not look for him. If Archie really loved me, he'd definitely come back. Kyle, on the contrary, began to show up very actively and make grand gestures, sending armfuls of flowers, calling every day, and once, during the dress rehearsal before the first performance, he came to the circus arena. Not minding my colleagues, Kyle got down on one knee and took out a box with a diamond ring. Kimberly, I broke off my engagement with Anna. I realized that you're the only girl I want to connect my life to. We were the perfect couple when we soared under the dome together. We will be the same perfect couple when we become spouses. Childhood is over, and my sports career is also over. I'm leaving for the big business. My dad believes that if our families combined their wealth after our marriage, we would have a bright future, Kyle said. But you guessed it. I wasn't interested in his offer. My heart belonged to someone else, and his name was Archie. The next day, the premiere of my circus program happened. I performed such difficult tasks under the dome that no one else in the world has ever performed them before. Apparently, the time spent in a coma changed me a lot. After the performance, the audience burst into applause. And then the journalists wrote about my circus program on the front page of newspapers. And they also added gorgeous photos of me soaring under the dome. But that wasn't the most important thing. When I went down to the arena on the day of the premiere, Archie ran out to me with a huge bouquet of roses. He said that he was a complete idiot, and now he's back forever, to be with me in spite of everything. I drowned in my beloved eyes and in the sweetest kiss of my life.